A lot of people say, a lot of experts have said the stock market's the only thing that's doing well, and that's doing well because our poll numbers are so much higher than Joe Biden's. An economy that's so fragile. And the only reason it's running now is it's running off the fumes of what we did, what the Trump administration. It's just running off the fumes. And when there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months, because I don't want to be heard.
Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay.
Marks a new record high for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, going to close above 37,000 for the first time ever.
I'm at the Taj Mahal. I built it myself, by the way. Not a lot of people know this. I built it, and I'm turning it into a hotel. A hotel, maybe a motel, maybe a Holiday Inn. We're looking into it. We're going to put me in it one day. That's what they're doing.
The House against the Senate border deal, the bipartisan border.
Well, they allow 5,000 people a week. Number one, that, but it also made it much better for the opposing side. A lot of the senators are trying to say respectfully they're blaming it on me. I said, that's okay. Please blame it on me. Please. Because they were getting ready to pass a very bad bill.
You know, critics say it's still going to let a lot of people in, but he gets to take a victory lap that he's gotten something done.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to let a bunch of people in. It's focused on actually turning people around on it. It is interesting. Republicans 4 months ago would not give funding for Ukraine, for Israel, and for our southern border because we demanded changes in policy. So we actually locked arms together and said, we're not going to give you money for this. We want a change in law. And now it's interesting, a few months later, when we're finally getting to the end, they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want a change in law because it's a presidential election year.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
We all have an oath to the Constitution, and we have a commitment to say we're going to do whatever we can to be able to secure the border.
Exactly.
Holy cow.
Tell us about the Trump opposition, what seems to be an ongoing negotiation.
Back up.
Is it really
Just back up.
potentially a deal breaker for Republicans?
I think everybody's got to decide on their own. What's interesting is a lot of the elements that are in this bill, President Trump was actually looking for when he was president, that he had said it needs to be done. And that's many aspects of this bill. There are gaps in our law. Obviously, there's been gaps in our law for a long time dealing with asylum, for instance. So we've got to be able to correct those things in law.
Anybody getting cold feet because of it inside the Senate Congress?
I think everybody's just waiting to read it. The biggest issue right now is everyone's really frustrated because it's taken so long to get out, and everybody's just ready to actually read it rather than get internet rumors.
But the former president calls this a betrayal. Is that what do you think of that characterization?
It's certainly not a betrayal. Actually, we've got to be able to deal with issues in law. That's how we actually deal with things in America, is we get good things in law, and we actually try to be able to follow that law and to be able to get it done.
Are you concerned that he wants to campaign?
Today, he's calling it a stupid bill. Is that how you see it, and is that helpful for these negotiations?
The biggest struggle that everybody's got right now is no one's been able to read it. And so everyone's going off of internet rumors. And there's lots of things that are out there that are just patently false. For instance, this ongoing thing that just allows 5,000 people in a day every day and checks them in. There's no way that's in the bill. Number one, I would never agree to that. But it's also just a total mischaracterization of the bill. But that's out there on the internet.
We live in a third world country, and Joe Biden, he wants to take away our cars and make us drive tuk-tuks. He wants to remove our shoes and steal our food, by the way. He drives to work in a little car without a bottom and pedals with his tiny feet. I don't know if you know this. And when he's president, if he is, he will basically dissolve our borders and set the prisoners free and put them in our homes. And by the way, he wants to replace the borders with air. And he's also going to join the continents and create Pangea.
We want to make it easier for mothers and fathers to have babies, not harder. You know that. That includes, and you saw this, it was a big deal over the last 54 years. They were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it. President Trump is going to make a determination what he thinks is great for the country and what's fair for the country. But the fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying, they worked for 50 years. I've never seen anything like it. They worked, and I was so honored to have done it. Well, I did something that nobody thought was possible. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. And by doing that, it put pro-lifers in a very strong negotiating position. Nobody did a job like I did, including Roe v. Wade, bringing it back to the states. What I did by killing Roe v. Wade, which everyone said was impossible.
Wow. Jem Palmieri, President Trump is very proud of that accomplishment of basically creating a women's health care emergency in the United States. Literally life and death health situations for women. Talk about being the party of life. They're the party of letting women die slowly or watch their babies die slowly.
Today I'm calling on the Alabama legislature to act quickly to find an immediate solution to preserve the availability of IVF in Alabama, and I'm sure they're going to do that. The Republican Party should always be on the side of the miracle of life. 500% in Portland over this time last year. Think of that, Portland. What they did to Portland, and nothing happens to Antifa, and nothing happens to BLM, but to people that are patriots, or conservatives or Republicans. They stay in jails for extended periods of time, and they destroy their lives. But we're not going to take it anymore. In New York City, crime is out of control. It's at record levels, with nobody being prosecuted, except, of course, innocent Republicans are being prosecuted. The Democrats know their policies on crime are so unpopular, so radical, so crazy. They are now trying to pretend they never led the defund the police movement in the first place. Disinformation. We never said defund the police. You know who did it? The Republicans did it. That's what they do. It's called disinformation. How about Russia? Trump had to do with Russia. He loves Russia. He loves Putin. He loves everybody. Turned out to be the Democrats, right? After 2 years, they figured, gee. And after a while, people actually believe this stuff. But now they're saying defund the police. Well, we didn't say it. It was the Republicans. It's called disinformation. You have to be wise to it. It's very simple. If you support defunding the police, vote for the radical left Democrats, and you see what's happening to the cities where they defunded the police. There's never been anything like it. If you want more police and more cops on the streets, vote for America First Republicans. Or, let's put it very simply, vote for MAGA. Make America great again. MAGA. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA.
To a pro-police message ahead of the midterms. Watch this.
Tim Ryan knows defunding the police is ridiculous. He's brought back $467 million to put good cops on the street. I trust Tim Ryan to keep our communities safe.
When I hear people talking about defunding the police, I know they're wrong. Police officers put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe, but it's our job to make sure they have what they need to do it. And that's a job I take personally.
In the Senate, I'll protect Florida from bad ideas like defunding the police. That's just crazy.
Well, that is quite a turnaround, isn't it? Congresswoman Nancy Mace is a Republican from South Carolina and joins me now in New York City. They're ditching the defund the police message. Will voters buy the switch?
5 weeks out from a general election, I highly doubt it. And Democrats sound like Republicans from 2020, but you cannot rewrite history or rewrite the narrative. If you were aligned with Black Lives Matter, you were aligned with organizations that want to defund the police, including my opponent in the general election. These are extreme views. These are views that the majority of Americans, Republican or Democrat, just are not a part of. But over the last 2 or 3 years, crime is up, murder's up 40% nationally. I mean, crime up in every city, small and big, is up enormously over the last 2 years.
You can't just vault over that, can you?
Right.
You can't just walk right past it and say, oh, that was a bad idea. Try this one.
From President Biden to refund police departments, House Democrats are delaying a plan to do just that. At the same time, every member of Congress is set to get $10,000 to put in security systems in their homes, including $150 a month just to maintain them. But it gets better. As Democrats try to run away from the defund movement, one top leader says it's a lie to call them out over it. Listen.
The notion that any of our frontline members or members of the House Democratic Caucus support defunding the police is just part of the big lie that extreme MAGA Republicans continue to tell.
This is about the investment in our communities, which have historically been divested.
Not only do we need to defund, but we need to dismantle and start anew.
Why use the word defund? Why use the word defund? And it's like, this is the word that's coming from the streets.
Look, the reality is we can't rely upon the police to provide public safety.
This week, we're dealing with a number of crises, and yet on the floor, we don't see legislation that Speaker Pelosi is bringing to address any of them. As Elise talked about, the border crisis continues to get worse. When Vice President Harris went to Texas, she didn't go to the border areas where the worst crossings are. I went to McAllen, Texas with many of my colleagues. She should have gone there. She should have gone to the Donna Detention Facility. But most importantly, she should be working with our Border Patrol agents who all will tell you what they need to do to solve this crisis. And frankly, it's all things that President Biden himself did to start creating this crisis at our border. They can solve it today. We call on them to do that. There is a crime crisis in our country as well. And interestingly, over the last year, Democrats have embraced the defund police movement, and it's had detrimental results. It has had devastating results in so many cities across America where Democrat mayors participated in this defund the police movement. And we've seen, unfortunately, police officers leaving the police force in record numbers. And what is the answer from Democrats? To finally reject this radical idea of defunding the police? No. They're trying to blame Republicans now for the dumpster fire that they created.
People in society come to believe that they are not valued, that they do not matter, or that they are not wanted. Then that society will have big problems. For decades, African Americans have complained that they feel that their voices are being ignored, their problems not being addressed, and their lives not valued. Given our nation's history with race, this is an uncomfortable grievance, one many would rather avoid. But like a bad debt that must eventually be paid, it is a grievance we can no longer ignore. These were demands that we fulfill them. And the Constitution that once considered slaves 3/5 of a human being was ultimately the vehicle that was used to free them and eventually to secure their most basic rights. It is also true that we have made tremendous progress on racial equality over the last 50 years, but there remain shocking racial disparities on health, on education, on housing, on economics and criminal justice. And there remains the fundamental truth that in any society in which a substantial percentage of the people believe that they are treated unjustly is a society that has a problem, a society that can never fulfill its full potential unless those grievances are addressed. None of this excuses radical violent extremists setting fires, looting buildings, hurting innocent people. It also shouldn't lead us to stupid ideas, like defunding the police.
And we also advanced, as you've seen the summary, cuts to some of the agencies that we believe are really overreaching and have been turned in some ways against the American people. We're going to cut 3% from DOJ, 7% from the ATF, 6% from the FBI, and 10% from the EPA, and that's just a start. We have a lot more priorities and things that we need to advance, but the reality is, as we all recognize, is that we have to grow the House majority, take back the Senate for the Republican Party, and win the White House. And I'm here to tell you the reason we're optimistic is we believe those things are going to happen in November. We can't wait. That day can't get here soon.
We're trying to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
Cruiser 5 to 50, be advised, Cal Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get to the Capitol.
We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol! We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need court support. We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs get back. All MPDs get back up to the upper deck. All MPDs get back to the upper deck.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love. The love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
Charge me $450 million. They can strip me of my money, but they can't strip me of my documents. Because I have those everywhere. You can't even find them. I put them in my pants. I put them in my closet. By the way, and there's a padlock, and they'll never find the padlock, and the code is 4412. But they don't know that. They'll never know. They want to ruin me. I'm the king of business, by the way, in New York, or New Jersey, or anywhere new.